Thank you for having me. And it's true, our research paper was published early this month, and it's a result of a long study that we've done to see whether Rwanda, one, is ready to issue a central bank digital currency. Second, what would be the benefits for the Rwandan population? So if we go back to what a central bank digital currency is, it's a digital form of money or digital form of cash. So the digital Rwandan franc would be the digital form of banknotes and coins that we use to pay in shops, or even electronic payments that are used to send money. The CBDC would be a complementary payment tool. So our study, we didn't do it alone. We worked with the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of ICT and Innovation, and we formed a CBDC task force because we could see around the world there are central banks that have conducted research into a digital currency they would issue, some piloting it, close to 86 countries today. And there are already a few countries that have issued a CBDC, the likes of Bahamas, which was the first, and in Africa, Nigeria also launched their e-Naira. And what we did was that looking at, in the Rwandan context, would a CBDC make sense? And if we look at our own population, would they adopt it? And what that study has showed us is that there are actually multiple opportunities for Rwanda to use a CBDC. What we call sweet spots, 4 of them being that, one, a CBDC would have an enhanced resilience compared to the payment systems we have today, and would actually be useful in case of disasters or extreme network shortages. Second, it would boost innovation and competition among payment service providers in Rwanda. Third, that it would accelerate the digital economy and cashless agenda that we're on. And lastly, that it would make faster and cheaper cross-border payments and remittances. Those are, in theory, the opportunities identified. But it's important, during that whole process, what we also learned is that we needed to have banks, fintech payment service providers on board so that they share with us also what their expectations would be on CBDC, or also maybe why they would resist using CBDC. Thirdly, we also thought it was important to consult the public, Rwandans, to see, to collect what their thoughts are on a central bank digital currency. And that's why we've launched that public consultation, which will last until the end of June. So we still have 4 weeks to gather feedback from the public on whether they would adopt a CBDC, the preferred design they would have, but they've also shared with us that they have concerns on whether their personal data would be protected. So a lot of questions around data privacy, a lot of questions around whether a CBDC would not destabilize the financial system as we have it. And these are some of the risks, inputs that we take and we will assess at the end of this public consultation to inform the next steps in our CBDC design and development, which is the proof of concept to really validate the opportunities and use cases that were identified during the research phase, but also be able to demonstrate whether we can mitigate the risks that have also been identified. Maybe going back to why BNR decided to put in place a regulatory sandbox, we could see a lot of fintechs coming in our market. And this is thanks to really the efforts of the Kigali International Financial Center as well, which wants to make sure that Rwanda becomes a Pan-African hub for fintechs. And so far we've seen a lot of fintechs coming to the market, even the unicorns in Africa, the likes of Flutterwave, Cheaper Cash, and so forth. But what we also noticed as a central bank, because fintechs are financial services, are offering financial services, so they cannot offer those services without being regulated. But some of those innovators, they were challenging us and saying, one, your licensing requirements maybe do not match what we're going to put on the market. They take too long, or because we're innovators, we don't necessarily understand the regulatory framework. Another instance would be that innovation, actually that service, has not yet been regulated. There's no regulatory framework. So we decided to put in place a sandbox, which is a platform that allows such innovations to be able to test their solutions without yet being licensed, but it's in a controlled environment where we'll see whether that product, that solution will not pose any problem to financial stability, because it's our mandate, but also to work with the innovators, entrepreneurs, to make them understand all that licensing requirements, so that by the time they are ready to go to the market, they can also fulfill the requirements to be licensed. Since we launched our sandbox in 2022, we currently have 8 fintechs in the sandbox, 3 in the payment space, digital payments. We have 1 testing crowdfunding solution, another in insurance brokerage, and digital lending. And we're hoping that, as they go through the sandbox in 12 months, some of them will have successfully, proven to us that their solution can work on the market, that it can fulfill the licensing requirements, and then they go on the market. And others can be supported in other ways. And the sandbox is also a way for these innovators to be linked to existing financial institutions like banks, where they can actually offer their solution through banks. One example I can give of such a partnership is PEN and INM Bank on the payments and cross-border payment space. We are very happy with the progress, but also I think it has created trust between startups, entrepreneurs, and the central bank. For us to also acknowledge that we are not technology experts, and of course an innovator is always ahead of regulators, and be able to have, through our financial sector development team, also that can challenge our regulatory team on how we can be more flexible or adapt to new innovations coming, and then we change regulations accordingly. I think we can understand that people are impatient because the single currency for East African community member countries or member states have been, expected for long, and the deadline of 2024 had to be extended. So last year, the Monetary Affairs Committee, which is a committee of central banks in the region, decided to extend the deadline for the single currency because the prerequisites were not ready. We still need to harmonize, our regulatory framework, finance and economics. We still have to get what we say convergence criteria, because one, the levels of development of the different countries are still different. We need to create the East African Monetary Institute, which will drive the preparatory work towards a single currency. It was supposed to start in 2023. It still has to be agreed on at heads of state level, and then start operations. But in the meantime, there are also the implementations of the customs union and common market protocols, which normally should be completed this year. So there are a number of steps that are still needed before we get a single currency. But I don't think we should despair as members of the East African community. When you look at other regional communities, I think starting with the European Union. The euro also took a long time to start. Almost it was a journey, I would say, of 40 years. So when we look at when Rwanda joined the EAC in 2009 and today, I think 2031 is a realistic deadline for the single currency. Probably from where we're standing, and you recall that 2 days ago we had our press conference communicating our monetary policy committee decision and the outcome of the Financial Stability Committee meetings. I think as Rwanda, we should be, one, assured of the stability and growth of our economy when we look at the projections. Second, we are a country that embraces innovations, but also takes a cautious approach to make sure that those innovations really benefit the population. And this is the journey we're on in developing a central bank digital currency as well. So we thank you very much and thank the media as well for the work you're doing in awareness.